All right, not saying very much over there, but quite clearly this is a situation which is a crisis for the DMK of sorts.
Well, the other big story, stop your strike and get back to work. That's what the Delhi High Court told striking pilots of Air India on a day the government gave the green light to the airline's management to take action against them.
The end result, 6 pilots have been sacked and the Indian Commercial Pilots Association has been de-recognized.
Though the ICPA will move the Supreme Court, the standoff within the airline means that thousands of passengers remain in the lurch, with many of their flights cancelled.
Nobody can dictate terms to government, especially a few pilots. They are the highest paid people in this country.
The Civil Aviation Minister refusing to give in to the demands of the Indian Commercial Pilots Association. Former Indian Airlines pilots, 660 of them, who've struck work since midnight. The minister has firmly backed the management that sacked 6 pilots and suspended 2. The striking pilots are demanding fixed salaries like pilots of Air India, with which Indian Airlines has merged. These domestic pilots are paid as per flying hours, unlike their counterparts who fly the international leg and get a fixed salary. The striking pilots say the salary crunch is harder these days as domestic routes have been reduced. Just a day into the strike, Air India has been hit by massive flight disruptions. It had to cancel dozens of flights, inconveniencing thousands of passengers. Mumbai and Delhi, the worst affected.
When I gone to take the endorsement on the ticket, then they told me that the flight is cancelled.
Any alternatives for you?
No alternative.
आप थोड़ा भोपाल वाली तरफ हो जाएं, थोड़ी देर में इसका क्लियर होगा. अभी फ्लाइट नहीं है. मैं फ्लाइट में मेरे साथ में कम से कम 25 लोग थे. 25 लोग खूब घूमते रहे 1-1.5 घंटे.
Passengers here say the inconvenience caused by the pilot strike is only one part of the story. They now complain other airlines taking advantage of the situation are now hiking their fares.
Before half an hour, I just came here and asked about this thing. They have told me that around 6,600. After half an hour, I just came here and asked about the ticket. They are saying something 8,000, 830.
Earlier in the day, the Air India management de-recognized the Indian Commercial Pilots Association, making its strike illegal and sealed its offices. This is the third erstwhile Indian Airlines union which has been de-recognized by the management in the last 1 year.
We have given a strike notice on the 23rd of February. It is now 2 months and 3 days. We have waited. So if they say we have no patience, they are trying to fool not just us, they are trying to fool the media and the public of this country.
Emboldened by the ministry's full support, the Air India management is acting tough. But within there are definitive concerns about the further bleeding of an airline already in the red, especially with some around the corner and other private airlines stepping up all efforts in an extremely competitive industry.
And Ndtv?
Well, Ndtv's Miloni Bhatt's been tracking the story. She joins us now. Miloni, for the moment it appears, are there any cracks within the Pilots Association? The ICPA technically doesn't exist, but are some of the pilots now saying that they may also lose their jobs, hence they need to go back to work as soon as possible?
Well, you know, Vishnu, this kind of fear has been there since afternoon. In fact, in the morning, the first thing that happened with the ICPA was a solid crackdown from the management when they de-recognized the union. The ICPA members say that they were expecting it, just that they were not expecting it so early in the strike. They just announced the strike last night, and first thing in the morning, they get de-recognized. Obviously, they're afraid. Obviously, some of them are worried about what this means for their future. They don't know if they're going to be able to continue. Right now, the ministry seems against them. They've got a management which is extremely belligerent, which has dug in its heels. What do? The Delhi High Court has now come out against them. In a way, they find themselves isolated. So what they're looking for is support within their own fraternity. And that means they're looking for the executive pilots to support them. They're hoping that some of the other counterparts in Air India, they will support them. Right now, though, we only heard words from an executive airline pilot Indian Airlines, first while Indian Airlines, who came out in support and said, well, we're behind them 100%. But we haven't heard anything formally from the entire group. So if the executive pilots do support them, then of course, they will emerge slightly stronger. But in the absence of that, right now they find themselves increasingly isolated and worried.
Both sides for now, of course, digging their heels in. Passengers is always caught in the middle.